Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome back to KAMDI Conversations. I am so excited to be here. It's been a minute. I missed you guys. How are you? And what better way for me to kick it off again? Because I've been on a little sabbatical, but what better way to kick it off than with my dear friend? You know who he is, Mr. Tyrone Dubose. Hey,
I know you
Tyrone.
said cut it out, but I just had to do it again. Hello there. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here and the pleasure of everyone's time. I am once again honored to be here with you. I always am.
We always have a good time. No, thank you so much for honoring me and us with your presence once again and all that knowledge you got up there in that head of yours. So
In the chicken noodles, as my grandson says.
I love it. No, we're going to have some fun again today. So, again, welcome everybody. If you've never been to Canby Conversations or watched or listened, we welcome you. We're so happy to have you. Make sure you follow and subscribe on both YouTube and Facebook, which is where we are streaming. And share, please share. Please share. We got a lot of great content. We got a lot of great guests that come through. And of course, starting with my number one, Mr. Tyrone. So, we're going to get this party started. There might be just a few people out there who don't know who you are. I don't know who at this point in the game, especially watching this, don't know who you are. But I'm going to act like there is somebody that doesn't know who you are and ask you, first of all, how did you get that name, that title, R&B historian?
Well, originally I had started actually knowing the pop charts really well. I was mentored by Casey Kasem of American Top 40. And he told me that he believed that I would be better off or better served in learning the R&B charts because he thought that R&B was not getting the proper due respect in which it deserved. And I really had to do my homework. I actually knew the pop charts better than the R&B charts. But as time went on, I actually became better and better. And that got me a syndicated show, Timeless Tracks, that was based on the top R&B songs over the last 4 decades. And later I became a contributor on Unsung for the last 10 years.
Yes, my favorite show ever. So Tyrone, you said were you just more interested in pop music, or what happened that made you said you knew pop music better? So why was that? Were you exposed to it more, or what was the
Well,
deal?
part of it was, I was watching or listening to the American Top 40 every week with Casey Kasem. He was my idol, and then I wound up meeting my idol who helped mentor me to be where I am today. But
Okay.
he was, he did the American Top 40, and then he would
Right.
always just talk about the stories that, got you to the number one song in America on the pop charts. But no one was doing much on the R&B charts. And then I believed it was time for me to perhaps make a switch, and that's why I made the
Mm,
switch to R&B. It wasn't that I didn't know R&B. It's just that I began with pop, and as time went on, I just decided to make the inroads to the R&B charts and R&B history.
okay. So did that make you become more interested in R&B, or it was already there? You just were concentrating on pop because of Casey Kasem?
Well, it made I had knew about R&B, but it allowed me to go in depth as to where R&B music came from. And many people don't notice, for example, music, particularly for African Americans, started in slavery when
Hmm.
slaves would be singing and their slave owners would forbid them to sing because they believed that they were, talking in code of trying to escape. And
Okay.
that's where music came from in the beginning. And
Right.
then we were incorporated into gospel music, into white
Hmm.
gospel music, and then it moved on to jazz and then blues, and it just
Right.
kind of
Right.
worked its way up. In the 40s, it was called race music. So it gave me an opportunity to understand the music. People hear the glory, but I had to learn the story, if that makes sense.
I love that. Yes, it does make sense. And you learned a whole lot on the way, right? Through the journey.
Yeah, I did. And absolutely. It was very important because you couldn't say that you were an R&B historian if you didn't know R&B history.
I
While
love
many
it.
people may claim to know, history or maybe the charts and things of that nature, I needed to know the history of R&B. Cheryl Underwood gave me a great opportunity to do that when I
Right.
was on her show, because that forced me to learn. And the more that I did that, the better it ramped me up of being where I am today.
That's wonderful. And Will, do you want to go ahead and talk about that a little bit about being on her show? Just that
Sure.
process, how that
Yeah,
came about?
yeah, sure. I met Cheryl years ago. I was with my brother AJ Jamal, who used to be on In Living Color. He's a comedian, and as time went on, I found out that she had a music show, and I asked her, would she give me an opportunity to do what I called a moment in music history, and that helped me to be better. And she said yes. When many people said no, she said yes, and I got better and better at it. And I mean, she's pretty one of the major reasons why I am where I am today. Someone always has to say yes to your dreams, and she certainly
Mm.
did for me.
Oh wow. Yes. That's great. I love to hear that. So big kudos to her for that. We got a lot of people popping in. Hello, Fraser Wheeler. He's saying good evening, everyone. Good evening to you. And he's saying he loves what you said, Mr. Tyrone.
Hi, Frazier.
Hey, Samantha. Thanks for joining. Kim Brown. Hello. Thanks for joining us, everybody. You all know it's Tyrone. Michelle, that's my buddy. Hey, Michelle. So if you have any questions, guys, please go ahead and put them in the chat. I'll be happy to ask Tyrone for you. Um, so yes, please fill in with questions, especially music questions. I'm just saying because we're gonna play a little game in a little bit, but we're gonna
Games. We like those.
we like games, yes.
We
And
like them.
before we go any further, for the few of you that don't have the book or haven't heard of it, it's hard for me to make that connection right now. Can you see it? It's hard to see it. There we go. So this is Tyrone's book. As you know, we've been talking about it, the Four Seasons of R&B music. We did a whole lot with it during Black Music Month, but you know what? Black music is every month. We don't have to just limit it to Black Music Month. We talk about it all the time because we love our music. Um, so you can still go get the book. I'm gonna just go ahead and put it out there right now. Please support Tyrone's and his book because it is a good book, as a lot of you know, because how much fun I had with my friends, Alan Shell. We had a good time. And there they are. Hey, Alan Shell. They're popping in. Kate Pip, Sheila. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate you. So, Tyrone, what was it like doing Unsung? Because, every time I look up, I see you on there. And you're
Yeah,
still
unsung
doing it.
is, and I'm still doing it. Yeah, it's really good, and it allows me once again to hone in on my skills and live my dream of knowing R&B history. It's very important that people hear, as I mentioned earlier, about the story of the struggles of what people did and turned their struggles into a gift, and that's really what it was, with particularly with R&B music. And it helps me because one of the things that I always want to do is bring out the best of these stories with these groups. But the truth of the matter is, all of it didn't end well for many people. And in fact, some of them have had many, hurtful things that have happened in their lives. And they trust me, as well as
Mhm.
many that are on Unsung, to tell their story in a sense of a dignified way. There are some things I simply wouldn't do. And the most important thing is allowing people to keep their dignity and respect. That's a big deal to me.
I love that. I love that about you, keeping it real, but also keeping it classy is what I'll say.
Keep it
Which is what
classy.
I always want to do too. I don't have to hear all the
Absolutely.
dirt. I don't necessarily, or negative stuff. So, um,
To be honest, to be fair, I won't mention who this person was, but one of the people who was on Unsung didn't want their bad parts out there. And I recall the producer saying, "You can't do this show without saying the things that people know about you." And it's only fair.
right,
So they told the producer, well, I wanted Tyrone to do it because they thought that, I would do it in a good way. I told them, well, you can tell me how best to spin it, but I can't get away from the truth. And I think that's the whole thing. A lot of times we and all of us, we glorify and we mentor and we feel good about the music and the singers in which that have been a big part of our lives. But just like them, we've had, like, our stories, they've had stories too. So I try to give that in a dignified manner.
and you do. You're excellent at it. Very good at it. And I mean, I think sometimes we forget, or fans forget, that they're people, they're human, they have lives, they go through stuff just like we do. They're just in the spotlight, and their dirty laundry is sometimes aired all over the place. So, um, And like we don't want people to know ours. They don't necessarily want people to know theirs all the time. So,
No,
but at least,
absolutely. No, I totally agree. Yeah,
yeah. But
I totally
you do
agree
it
with
so
that.
well.
A lot of times it's difficult for people to get it and understand, but it's a very important part of their lives. And us to know that recognizing that their struggles became their strength gives us an opportunity to believe that if
Mm-hmm.
they can do it, we can do it too.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you put that so well. What? How did this book come about, Tyrone? You just sat down one day and said, "I'm going to write a four-season book."
Well, it started, believe it or not, during COVID. I was home, and but right before COVID hit, I remember talking to a publicist, and I remember speaking to her, telling her, I feel like I'm really just not where I needed to be. I felt like I was, I'm kind of on a border, or I needed to find a way to be different to some degree. Can you tell me what I need to do? And she said that you're already legitimized. She said, but a book would solidify you in your place as being an R&B historian. And so what I did was I actually wrote one page a day, and I said, what am I going to write about? I'm going to write about R&B. I'm going to write about these particular decades, because to be honest, music started from the 50s to the 90s. It was a solid base for R&B music. And I just said, I'm going to write my top 10 of the book. And that's what I did. One page a day, maybe a couple. And but I was able to see it through, because the truth is I always had a problem in being able to just finish things. And
Mm-hmm. Okay.
being home made me do that. And I needed to, in my head, prepare myself when COVID was over to be ready to go, with a book and
Okay.
all the other things that were going on.
So COVID made us do a lot of things that some people would have never got done. So there was a blessing in some ways for a lot of people, and we certainly are thankful for this book.
No,
Excuse me.
I am certainly forever grateful for the book. And then I remember thinking to myself, was I asking too much to think that something of this nature could even work? But then as the book got bigger, and
Mhm.
all of a sudden it went to number one for 8 weeks. I mean, I was astounded. But it solidified, and it solidified me as recognizing that maybe, just maybe, I'm in a good place. Maybe where I am isn't smoke and mirrors. Maybe it's real. And I
It,
needed that. And I think we all tried to find ourselves, during this period. And in my head, I thought this may well be the last time that I get in being able to do something of this nature. So I said, make it happen now.
and you did. So well done, my friend.
Thank you
So,
very much.
oh, you're welcome. So, well, let me read a few comments and I'll ask my next question. Sharon Tolliver, my buddy, she says, people
Hi,
get the
Sharon.
book. You'll not only get info on music, but also what was happening at the time. That's right, because there's other tidbits in the book we didn't even tell you all about. So we don't want to give everything away. You got to get the book to see for yourself. Hello, Barbara Simmons. She's here saying hello. And
Hi, Barbara.
Alan Shell is saying good point. Carla, good evening, everyone. Good evening to you, Carla. And
Hi, Carla.
Yolanda Cunningham saying hello. And okay, I think I get everybody. And again, if you have questions for Tyrone, put them in the chat. I'll be happy to ask for you. So, Tyrone, when you were writing this book, was it challenging? Now, I know you pretty much took the facts and made your choices, but was there at any point was it really difficult to leave out some people or some groups that you really wanted to put in here? Did you have a hard time with that? And can
That's a
you?
great question, Tanya, because the truth is I did. And it was the reason why I went through the period of history. And then I went through the period of one hit wonders. And then I wrote the ones that were just under the bubble, because I really, really struggled with that. Not because I didn't think that they deserved it, but I knew that it was choices in which I was making. But I can tell you that I really wasn't way far off from what the actual national R&B singles charts said either. Not a whole lot off. There's a few changes in which I made on mine, but I gotta say it was I struggled with it, particularly the 70s.
Okay. But now, why that decade? Why the 70s?
Well, the 70s was in the midst of the revolution of R&B music, in my opinion, and it not only feathered based on the Temptation era and all of the Motown sound, but then
Mhm.
it started to ease itself into integrating onto the pop charts. And in the middle of R&B getting into the pop charts came disco. And that, made it, struggle. I really struggled with that part. And if you notice, even in the one hit wonders, I kind of tied with three of them only because it was like, I couldn't make up my mind. I couldn't make up my mind. But yeah, it was tough.
And you still got in trouble with people, that everybody keep
And I
saying
still got in
it.
trouble. They
You
were
just
calling me, Tanya. Oh my God. People were calling me, these people that were in the book. What about me? What about this? What about that? I loved you all, but okay.
everybody can't go in the book. It can only
I
be so
know. She
long.
told them. Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah.
Al and Shell, I think it's Al saying this. It's both their names on here, but they'll tell us in a moment. They're saying I'm still upset about Switch. See, they still talk about stuff. So
Okay. That's Al being, as I call Al, Petty Crocker. Petty Crocker.
so they want to switch.
Yeah, you want to switch.
You'll be
He's
okay, honey. You'll be
he's
okay.
being Petty Crocker. He's being Petty Crocker right now.
That's
Cut it
okay.
out, Al.
They can't help it. They can't help it. So, can we ask what were some that or if you can think of any? I know you wrote it a little while ago, but what are some that aren't in the book that you know, just weren't able to? You just had to cut it off. Can you think of any?
It wasn't so much of who I had to cut off because, to be fair, this was really just based on a chart system and how
Right.
big you were during your decade. So it wasn't hard. The hardest part was me with the honorable mentions, moving them into the top 10. And one of the hardest ones I had
Okay.
was in the 70s with Stevie Wonder. That one I struggled with. And in fact, it took me a while with that one to get him in the top 10, not because he didn't deserve it, but because he was just a snail's whisker away from some of the other bigger artists of the 1970s. But he made his mark in
Oh,
all 3 decades.
right. Excuse me. Okay. Very good. Oh, we got a question. It's a good question from Harriet Taylor. Hey, Harriet, thanks for joining us. Mr.
Hi, Harriet.
Tyrone, who do you think is the best R&B singer in 2023? Oh,
Listen, okay, so I don't want to get in trouble because I know a lot of these singers and they know me.
mm,
But let me tell you who stands out to me. Her stands out to me big time.
I like
Um, and part of the reason is because she was able to find a way to reinvent R&B music to some degree. And I
her.
thought
Hmm.
that was really big with her. The other part of the problem is that there aren't many R&B singers anymore. They have proclaimed themselves to be neo soul, or they put themselves or in a category. Now recently Babyface had a #1 song in America on the adult charts, and part of that took him 16 years to get there. The problem becomes is that when you are R&B singer or a group, you had A&R and so many other people that were behind you that pushed your music to the top. Well, we don't have those anymore. All you can be now is just an internet sensation, and you go right up. You go right up the charts.
Isn't that amazing? It's just changed so much, so much. So it's really
Yeah.
interesting. I truly like her as well. She's one of my favorites that's out right now. Actually has a beautiful voice. A lot of people aren't really what I consider singers these days, but I won't get into all that. I'm just saying. Uh, um, Alan Cheryl was saying she's the closest thing to Prince in a long time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that. Yeah,
Hmm.
no, I agree. And I mean, ultimately, the flavor change rapidly in music, particularly in R&B music, because R&B music had to integrate itself through the pop charts, through the soul charts, through the R&B charts, through and now through rap and hip hop, through EDC. I mean, you had to integrate yourself through 5 or 6 different methods of music just to stay alive. It's some of the reason why R&B music, particularly the old school, is still popular today.
Mm, good points. Now, and so Harriet, thank you so much. That was a great question.
Thank you,
Um,
Harriet.
we are about to have some fun. I got a couple more questions, but let me go ahead and bring my friends so we can have some fun, everybody. So
As
welcome.
long as you bring in Shell, I'm okay. If she wants to bring Al, okay, I'll let it go.
I like that. I like that, Tyrone. I like that.
You being petty.
What you say, petty? What? How does it?
Petty Crocker. That's what.
Look, I am stealing that. I am stealing it. I love it.
I like it. I am not mad at you.
Petty Crocker.
I love it.
Petty
Let
Crocker.
me just say to Al and Shell, I cannot thank you from the bottom of my heart for having my book as a part of your my journey, as a part of your show. It meant more to me than you can ever imagine. Just the energy and electricity of being on there was something that I will never ever forget. Well, you're both, all of you, Tanya, Al, and Shell, all of you, and all of them are just such class acts. It means more to me than you ever know.
To God be the glory. It is our pleasure.
Yes, you are very welcome. We really enjoyed it.
No,
I mean,
yeah,
we really had fun, Tyrone, really, with your book. We had a ball.
We had a ball, didn't we?
I mean, I like one of the, I need another book so we can
right. So we can do it all again.
Do it all again.
But
they're asking me to do another book because that one was, did really well. But I kind of want to, I'm doing a new television show based on the book, so I'm trying to wait. But I will tell the people here that the next book is called They Just Missed Every Song That Reached Number 2.
Wow.
Oh,
that's an awesome topic.
That's going to be good.
That's going to be
I'm glad I thought of that. That is an awesome topic.
There it goes, y'all.
When you guys get to LA, y'all need to come out here and see me on this radio. Y'all need to hang out with me.
It would be our honor.
Okay. Great.
They are just as much fun in person. I was hanging out with them this past weekend. We had a ball. So So hello, Shirley. Thanks for joining us. Okay. So now we about to have some fun, y'all. Well, not that we weren't having fun before. So we're going to go to the book. And
go to the book.
We're going to the book first. We're going to play a couple games here, but this one isn't really a game, but we're going to pick, because what we didn't go over when we got together before were the one-hit wonders. So I want to pick one hit wonder from each decade and just let Tyrone talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. So, and guys, I don't think I'm even going to tell you what I'm talking to the audience there, what all the one hit wonders were. You got to get the book and find out. I'm not going to give all the proofs out. So you got to get the book and find out, because some of them you go, oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. Or you didn't know that they were one hit wonders. You might have thought they had other music. So, so there might be some surprises in there. So I'll take the first one, and I'll let you guys do this 70s, okay? And then I'll do the 80s, you do 90s, and you can pick one. So the song I'm picking for the top 5 one-hit wonder from the 60s decade is Grazing in the Grass by Hugh Masekela, who was number one. That was your number one pick for the one-hit wonders.
It was my number one pick. And here's what's amazing, without even going to the book, Hugh Masekela, as well as Herb Alpert, put A&M Records together, which is that's where it came from. But Grazing in the Grass was actually one of the biggest songs of instrumental in the history of music. It was big. And Herb Alpert, then all of a sudden he moved into the number one position with the song This Guy's in Love with You. And then out of nowhere, everybody was like, well, this guy can't really sing. But he got all the way to number one with that song and then had to move out of the way for the Beatles, Love Me Do. On the pop chart, which you have to know, remember on the R&B, particularly on the pop charts, if you're on the R&B charts, that means that primarily Black people are buying your music. But if you've moved over from the pop charts, R&B charts to the pop charts, that's why they said it was all important. That meant that both whites and Blacks were buying your music. And particularly in the 60s, there was a sense of evolution for R&B music then. And it was coming out not just with Grazing in the Grass, but the Motown sound.
Of course, yeah. Absolutely. Okay, thank you for that. And got the scoop on that one. That was interesting to me because I didn't know too much about that song.
I didn't either.
Mm-mm. Shell, did you want to hum it?
Hum what? Oh.
You know you have to be.
I'm sure. What?
It's a hard song to hum.
Yeah, it is, and even for me with my skills.
It's not a hum, it's a dan. Dan.
Yeah, that's true.
And then
Yeah, because some people may not be familiar with it, but if you heard it, you would know because it you know. But it's not like it has words.
Yeah, it was an instrumental classic. There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yes, I remember that.
There you go.
Thank you, Shell. I knew you could do it.
Al, you better listen to Shell. She know what she's doing.
I'm just terrible with titles.
I'm being petty. I was being petty.
We love it.
What year was that? What year was that? Was that song?
1968.
You're right, Teresa.
That was
You're
1968.
right. Teresa,
Yeah,
was
it was
1968. Wow.
And you know, this
That's
was
the year I was
amazing.
born.
And I remember the other song that was ironically that was just as big was Booker T and the MG's Green Onions. It was big.
Memphis.
Back in the day. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hometown.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You want to pick one from the 70s, Alan Shell?
What we got is it's not a one-hit wonder, but it's from the 70s because I put one of my albums from the wall.
Pull it off. Let me see it.
And I want to see if I get a scoop.
Okay. No, we weren't doing albums yet. What? Follow the script, guys.
Well, I lost the script.
Go ahead.
It's not Shell's fault. It's not Shell's fault, Tanya. Leave her alone. It's not Shell.
It's follow the directions. What?
Yeah,
okay. You know I'm not good at that. Don't you remember to show how hard it was for me to follow directions? Don't you remember that? Y'all were trying to
Yes, I do. Here we go.
Simple.
Okay.
Yeah, leave Shell out of this. Shell has nothing to do with this. This is not Shell.
I pulled this. I don't think I actually gave him these instructions that I was going to pick one from the one hit wonder thing. So do you want me to do that? And then we'll go into the other stuff. Okay. I'm sorry. It's my fault.
That's no worries.
I just added this at the last minute.
That's what makes it fun. That's what makes it fun.
Yes, we are definitely authentic. Okay, Tyrone, here we go from the 70s. There's such good stuff in here. But I'm picking this because I thought it was interesting. It was something about rocking. So we had a tie for these at number 5, and they all had to do with rocking. I guess we were rocking in the 70s. It was Rock the Boat, the Hughes Corporation, who I interviewed. I actually have done an interview with them. Rock Your Baby by George McCrae, and Rocking Chair by Gwen McCrae. Tell us about those.
Okay. I struggled so hard with the 7. In fact, I think it took me a week to figure out what one-hit wonders I wanted to use in the 70s because they were all so good. But all 3 of these songs had one thing in common. All of them were in a part of disco, 1974 and 1975. And in fact, Rock Your Baby and Rockin' Chair both were a part of, TK Records in Hawley-The, Florida, with Casey and the Sunshine Band. That's where it all began. That's where those began. But it was real hard. I mean, particularly for those. It was that one I struggled with a lot. But all 3 reached number 1 on the R&B charts. All 3 reached the top 10 on the pop charts, but disco was just making its way into the mainstream of pop music, and R&B was struggling to find its way in there. Remember, before then it was the OJs and your Barry Whites, and there wasn't a lot of disco then. But in '74, once Van McCoy got there with the hustle, then it really just kind of took off for R&B.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for those of you,
it really did.
If you missed it, it was Rock the Boat, Don't Rock the Boat, Baby. Remember that? Rock Your Baby. How's Rock Your Baby go? I know it, but I can't.
Woman, take me in your arms, rock your baby.
Rock your baby.
And then his wife makes a top 10 hit the same year. Just amazing. with that. What I did want to mention, though, the group Wild Cherry, because I know I put them as part of the one-hit wonders, and they were a all-white group from Ohio, and they got their name from a cough drop. One of the people who were in the hospital got into the hospital room, and then they saw the Ludens Wild Cherry cough drops, and they called themselves Wild Cherry.
Wow. I remember those Ludens. Yeah.
I do too.
Oh yeah.
And what part of Ohio are they from? Because I did not know that.
Steubenville.
Are you serious?
Steubenville.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that. That's a bet you didn't know. I didn't know that, guys.
All right.
And
as I'm sitting here listening, you're naming the songs. I'm like 5 between probably 4 to 8 years old and it's just those songs are my escape when I'm stressed. Because they just take me. It's a time machine.
Take you back.
And a mental vacation.
Yeah.
You know, Al, it's so funny that you say that. One of the reasons why I became so well with music, because it took me back to a time in my life, whether it was good or bad. People can remember where they were when they hear these songs, or a lot of times when I said the date, you know, that's what I used to learn with Casey Kasem. He used to always tell me, say the date, you know, tell a story, you know, and I remember that I had 1975, I remember listening to Casey Kasem, and I listened to him religiously every week. It was all I had. But a few years ago, I had a chance to meet Elton John, and he said, and so when I met him at this dinner, I said, I know something about you that you don't think anybody knows. I said, you had a Monopoly set. It had sterling silver houses and real gold hotels. And I said, and it cost about $5,000. And he said, how do you remember that? How do you know that? I went, Casey Kasem. I remembered in 1975.
That is,
I remember.
And when you met Casey Kasem, you met Shaggy from Scooby-Doo too. I think that's just cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. He was one of the classiest people that I'd ever met in my life. And I mean, he was influential for me because I really didn't know where I was headed or what I was doing. And sometimes we just kind of find ourselves drifting and hoping and hoping that somehow or another we get to make our dreams come true. And so here I am with, you know, living my dream because I got a chance to meet my idol, and that said a lot.
That's wonderful. That's a blessing. So Tyrone, a quick question for you. I want to interject here. Do you have a favorite memorable experience of meeting a particular celebrity, or is there something that's the most memorable for you?
I know this is going to sound crazy, you know, as when I first started in doing this, like many people, you know, I was awestruck. But I remembered when I started meeting people, I had to calm myself down. What I really remembered was how they treated me. That was what I remembered the most. A lot of times when we meet people, and now as a public figure, I always have to watch myself. I want people to remember the best of me. So if in the event that things ever get bad, they'll remember the best and not the worst, if that makes sense. So all my memories are always with people who were kind to me. The group, the Stylistics, were that way with me all the time. And believe it or not, Al, I gotta say, so was the group Switch. They've always been like family. They've been like family to me, and they've always treated me that way.
They're good people.
Yeah, they're like my family. When they're out here, we all hang out, we get together. But I mean, these are the things in which I've learned. And you know, as you become bigger at being a celebrity to some degree, what you have to learn is maintain a sense of dignity and composure when you're meeting people. You want to meet the best. Ernest Thomas, who is an actor, he was a Raj on What's Happening. He's one of my best friends, but I've learned a lot of how to act and who to be and what to be like by being with. I do that to him all the time. I do. Yeah. I even do this, Al, the other day. I went, ha ha.
I love it. I love it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
just a quick story with Ernest. So we were together. Ernest and I are the best of friends. I took him out a few weeks ago. I said, we're going out. We went somewhere to go get something to eat. And then we went to this event. I said, okay, they got free stuff, Ernest. Don't get crazy. We're going to go get this free stuff and don't get crazy. He said, okay, no problem. So, and I'm going to make sure he tells you this. He goes to the show again. So he goes, waits until I grabs the bag, Alan Shell. And then he yells out, that guy never met a meal he didn't like. And he yells it out where everybody can hear him.
Oh, gosh, I would love to meet him.
Oh,
Gosh.
I was like,
he's wonderful.
He says, he's telling people he never met a meal he didn't like. Always take it. Just take it.
That's my people right there. That's my kind of
He
people.
said no, but he took the dough. He took his stuff too. He got his little free
That's
stuff in
funny.
there, though.
That's funny, but he got you on that one. He is hilarious.
That's priceless.
Right.
Oh, he's
But
so
I've
good.
learned to be kind with people because I never knew that this was going to happen for me. It happened for me late in life. I don't say late, but when I figured out my dream.
Right.
And once I did, I made promises that I'm still keeping today. Be kind and giving to others. Recognize that this can all be gone in a day. Learn to love people. It's the little things. It's probably the reason why I liked, coming on your show, and most people know I don't do interviews very often, but the simplicity means a lot to me. And that's one of the reasons why I love, being here.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And I mean that sincerely. I really do.
I know, we love you back. Absolutely.
We love you.
Yeah.
We love you back. It's an honor. And just your
No,
passion.
it means a lot. Because people will tell you, they'll tell you, I get on the red carpet and I'm gone. Like, I'm over.
Yeah.
I'm over this. I want
Passion
to go watch some Ratchet TV or something. I'm over this. I'm over it. But I've learned. Be kind and calm and be loving and giving to people. You'd be amazed just how far you get. And that means a lot to me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, let me hit the 80s and 90s right quick because then we got the other game that I know Al is waiting on.
We here for it.
The one-hit wonders for the 80s. This was interesting. I'm going to pick this one because I can hear my husband in my head imitating this song, which is The Rain by Orange.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew it. I knew it. And every guy loved that song.
Don't touch
And I
that
knew
car.
that song, guys. I knew that song in my head. No, look at that closet, because ain't nothing that everything you came here with is waiting for you in the guest room. I used to love that song.
Yep.
Cut it out, Shell. But I did love the song, though. Yeah, the song was really big for him, and it was a one-hit wonder for him. And right in 1985 or 86, it was good. It was a top 10 song on the pop chart, went to number 8, but it went to number 1 for 2 weeks on the R&B charts as well. What was unique about it was the fact that he was doing a sense of rapping, so to speak, before rap became rap.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Right.
And but it had a catchy tune to it, and it was pretty good. And you have to understand, the 80s were the height of videos, and everybody came home every day from school or work to watch videos all day long.
Yep.
I thought he was Eddie Murphy at first.
Yeah.
I love it.
He was a good guy. He's a very good guy. And there was also another one that was on there was Rockwell with Somebody's Watching Me.
Yeah,
it was a one-hit wonder as well. And many people, thought that he got there, and it's probably true on the strength of Michael Jackson as well. But nonetheless, it was to reach number 1 on anything in the 80s, particularly with Prince, Michael Jackson, and Stevie Wonder dominating the pop charts and not just the R&B chart.
Mhm.
That says a lot.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Very good. All right, the 90s, last one. Whoop, there it is. Whoop, there it is.
Here's what's amazing. This song was so big, it was one of the biggest one-hit wonders in history that never reached number 1 on the R&B or pop chart. In fact, it was so big on the pop charts, it went all the way up to number 3 and stalled there, went back down, then came right back up again, only to miss it again.
Wow.
That song was that big. And they had a resurgence, 30 years later with the commercial for Geico.
Right.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, they had a when they said scoop, there it is, and
Yep.
they had a resurgence. So yeah, that was one of those songs that really was good. But interesting, I had two songs that were one hit wonders in the '90s. One of them was Eni Kamosi, Here Comes the Hot Stepper. He actually called me, told me not to forget to put him on there, but he also told me about someone else that I had totally forgot about, and I had to put him on there, and it knocked off a couple of one-hit wonders, and it was Informer by Snow. That
Yeah.
song was so big, it was number one on the pop charts for 7 weeks.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was a big song.
Tanya, I'm just amazed at how he just got this trivia right here.
That's what he does. That's his
Knowledge
gift.
right here.
Yeah,
I know that's what he does, and I didn't know you have it in the book that Whoop there it is was 4-time platinum. I didn't know
4 times platinum, which is huge in itself.
Yes,
Yeah.
I want to make sure I mention
1993 was the biggest year in R&B history on the pop charts. Virtually every song, 47 of 52 weeks, was a number one song from an R&B singer. 47 of 52 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, it was that big in 1993. It was big.
That's a great stat right there too. Look, he's
Yeah.
just throwing stuff at us, y'all. Y'all getting it?
I know.
Right.
Sharon says, Mr. Tyrone, I wanted to see the main ingredient in your 70s list. Here we go.
That's Al's fault.
I take the blame.
No,
You know why? Because everybody plays.
Yeah, like I said, the 70s were, like I said, one of my toughest, and particularly tough because 70s was the year of groups, and and they slowly faded out. In the 80s was the men artists, and in the 90s became groups again.
Right.
And so it was really tough for me in the 70s. But what I looked for were groups that were consistent in the top 10, not just on the R&B chart, but the pop charts. I mean, with the Jackson 5, if you think about it, 22 of 24 of their songs reached the top 10. Reached the top 10 in the 70s. And one of them that didn't reach the top 10 went to number one with the group Troop 17 years later.
Yes. And that's
All I Do Is Think of You. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. So just to tease everybody, and then we're going to go ahead and play our game right quick. Since we've been talking about the 70s, I'm going to read this part of the 70s. I said Tyrone gives some other little tidbits in his book outside of music, the revolution of the 70s. And I should say because you got the revolution of the 70s. And for each chapter, there's the top stories of the decade, the top African-American TV programs, and the top.
I had to put Ernest. I didn't have any choice.
and the top recording player used. So I just wanted to read some of the top African-American TV programs and the recording player used. So you can guess. What was the top African-American TV programs in the 70s? Let's see. He lists 5 of them. Let's see if you all can list them in the chat.
That should be easy for him.
It should be very easy.
Because in the 70s, it was all we lived for, was watching them on Tuesdays or Wednesdays. That was all we lived for.
Absolutely.
Friday night.
Oh, yeah.
Sharon's still singing over here. Just don't want to be lonely. Right, Michelle. Yep, you got one. The Jeffersons. Okay, Carla. This is African American TV programs. MASH doesn't qualify.
What she put? The Price is Right.
She put MASH.
You still our people, though, Carla.
That's right. We still love you.
Still our people.
Right. Good time. Right, Barbara. Good times. Absolutely. Good times. And right, the Jeffersons again. Ooh. Carter said the Mod Squad. That's not on here, but I love the Mod Squad.
Yeah, but the Mod Squad wasn't a black show. They just had Link in there.
But I still loved it. Right. But it wasn't.
But men in the 1970s would not, if you were walking in threes, you never walked in the middle because you'd be proclaimed Julie. You walked on the right side. Just put it out there.
So you guys got
You
them.
walk in the middle. I'm just saying, I was just putting it out there, bro. I'm just putting it out
Right.
there.
What's happening? Yep. So they listed good times.
Yeah.
What's happening? Sheila Diane. Yep. Sanford and Son.
My
And
favorite
it's
of all
only-
time.
What's happening? I had no
Michelle
choice with
said
what
Fat
happened. I
Albert.
didn't want to deal with Ernest.
What'd you say?
I didn't have a choice with what's happening. It was either do that or deal with
well,
Ernest. and I
but it
didn't
was
want to.
true.
Right?
So right, good time. So you all have named all except one, and they were the ones you've named are Good Times, What's Happening, The Jeffersons, Sanford and Son, and there's one more, and there's one more, and I'm surprised because you're thinking
Clifton Davis.
they're thinking evening shows. I think you know what I mean that sitcoms and that. This is a different type of show.
So it's not a sitcom.
It's not a sitcom.
I don't have the book in front of me either. We can't.
Kim Merriweather said, "That's my mama."
Hey Kim, but nope, it's not. That's my mom. It's not. That's my mama.
Was it a
That was a
miniseries?
good one, though.
Was it a miniseries?
It was a program. It wasn't a mini series. Did you say a mini series?
I was thinking Roots.
Sharon got it.
Flip Wilson.
Soul Train.
Oh, Soul Train. Oh.
Oh
Okay.
my God.
So the Flip Wilson.
There you go.
Was that come on every week?
Every Saturday.
I guess it did for a minute, didn't it? Okay. All righty. Oh, I was supposed to get some. That's all I'm gonna do for that because when we get to the other part, because we're almost running out of time. So okay.
I can't believe we didn't think of that.
What'd you say, Shell?
I said, I can't believe we didn't think of that automatically.
That's what I'm saying because we were programming on the evening, the sitcoms and stuff, and that's why I said it's not a sitcom. Everybody kept thinking sitcoms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what my mind was.
Yep, everybody's was. So it's all good. All righty, I'm gonna let you go out because you followed the instructions. And I talked about you and I was wrong, so I'm gonna let you go.
It took
first.
him 3 hours to do it. It took him 3 hours. It took him 3 hours.
One of my favorite groups from the 70s. These brothers Show Enough was singing.
Ooh.
Oh! Now,
So what we're doing, I didn't even explain that before you start, Tyrone. So what we're gonna do, everybody, is we're gonna hold up an album. We just picked them randomly. I'll pick some. I got a couple, and we're gonna let Tyrone just say whatever you want to say about it, whatever first comes to mind, because you know he got something.
Hot Property had their last #1 song "Eyeballing" on it, and "Gangsters of the Group." When the Gangsters of the Group was actually, but I'm going to tell you right now, they had 2 platinum and 2 gold albums. They would have went to #1 in 1977 with Boogie Nights, but they got in the middle of Debbie Boone's "You Light Up My Life" because she was #1 for 10 straight weeks.
Wow.
They would have hit #1. They held on for as long as they could, and then a year later came back up there with the Groove Line. And by the way, that 12-inch single of the Groove Line is one of the best R&B disco singles in history.
It brings
Just
you in from that first note. Oh gosh, I love it.
Yeah, this group, but they were struck by tragedy constantly.
Right.
They just couldn't get it. They just couldn't get away from it. They were constantly struck by tragedy, but they kept going, and they're still going today. They're still going.
They are.
Amazing.
And I have to say,
Yeah.
I had the pleasure, I'm from Ohio and I lived in Dayton for a while. And I was working with a good friend on her show. She had a show on television there. And we actually got to go over to Johnny Wilder's house and interview him, which I will never, ever forget.
Oh, you did? You interviewed who again? We were in
Johnny
the
Wilder from Heat Wave.
Are you serious?
Went to his house.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
And,
gosh, I'm jealous.
I'll never forget it. Because
Yeah,
it was just amazing. He still sang. He was in a wheelchair, paraplegic. He couldn't after the car accident, but he sang. I said, "Could you just sing a little bit of Always and Forever for me?" And he sang Always and Forever to me.
You want me to?
No. So
Al, that's the first time, Al, that me, Shell, and Tanya all shook our heads at the same
in agreement. It was like
We were all.
You're gonna mess up the whole vibe. Like, wait, I was painting this picture, and here he come. You want me to sing it for you? I'm like, no.
I'm used to it.
Don't you?
Yeah.
They mean, Al. I'm with you.
Report on that.
I'm with you, Al. I'm with you, Al. They mean, man.
They hating.
I was good with it. That's good, man.
But anyway, that is one of the most memorable experience I've ever had because
It would have to be.
he had a studio in his home. I mean, a recording studio, even though he was in a wheelchair.
Only imagine though, had this group, I mean, 4 of the 6 original members dealt with some sense of tragedy. And Rod Templeton went on to write wrote Michael Jackson's Off the Wall, Michael Jackson's Thriller. I mean, he went on to become one of the best. And you can always hear a Rod Templeton hit because of that, the way in which you could tell. You knew it was him. Yeah.
One bad boy.
That great group. That was a good one, Al. That's a good one.
Thank
Love
you.
them.
All right, we're about to
thanks for telling him to do it, Shell.
You already know.
You know, I got you.
Ooh.
Oh, now here's a group right here that had to change their name because of a cigarette.
Wow.
Parliament. And then they broke off and called it Parliament Funkadelic.
Wow.
Oh, is that what happened? I never knew that.
I love it. I love this type of stuff.
Changed their name because of a cigarette.
I did not know that. In case y'all want to
But
see.
they had a resurgence in the 80s with Atomic Dog, I gotta say. And it was amazing for that because funk had been kind of easing its way in a little bit, particularly in the early 80s. Remember, we were ending disco and music was just trying to find itself. Luther was kind of in the background and Michael Jackson has sort of faded out as well because, before Thriller and some of the other albums had come out. So music was really trying to find itself then. You had the Daz Band and some of these other ones. And right in the middle of that became Atomic Dog, which, by the way, was one of their biggest hits.
You just happened to mention it, so I grabbed it. But go ahead. You can finish with Knee Deep. This is the Knee Deep album for those that didn't know.
You are my people with those album covers.
But you know what? The thing, Parliament sing a song for an hour. So I just looked. I wanted to see what the actual time was on Knee Deep because it's only two songs on one side of this album, and that song is 15 minutes and 23 seconds. Knee Deep is. So that's what they also did that quite a bit.
I love.
What's amazing when you mention them, I'm also thinking about the Isley Brothers, who was one of those rare groups that had a part 1 and part 2 to everything that they did.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
That was one I played that album a whole lot. That one right there. But Flashlight was my jam. I hear you, Sheila. She's saying Flashlight. I just had somebody tag me today and said, Tanya, every time I hear Flashlight, I think of you because everybody knew that was my song. Everybody in high school, college knew. If Flashlight was on, I was there. So
yeah, my sister loves that too.
Leela says I would have fainted, Tanya. I know Leela. She's talking about when I was talking about Johnny Wilder. Yeah, it was priceless. That most memorable thing. Brothers Johnson, Heatwave, Boogie Nights. Okay, go ahead. Your turn, Al and Shell.
As I get ready to show you this album, I got to tell you, when you talk about Parliament, you're talking about that moment, that one person you met. When I got to meet Bootsy Collins, who came out of there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
He was in a room when I was working in radio, and I went in there and I said, Bootsy, I knew you were in the room because when I walked in, it was funky like doo-doo. And he said, "We funk, baby." Okay, here
God.
Oh, I can't see it.
Brick.
Oh, now here you go. Now look,
hey.
Here's a 7-man group from Atlanta.
Yeah, they still here.
Who was so big, their song went all the way up to number 3 in 1977 and just missed number 1 because of I Wish and Rolls Royce Car Wash.
Wow.
Just missed. They were that big in the middle. They got all the way to number 3 and they were solid. They really were. They were great. And even Duzik, their follow-up was just as big. But I mean, here's Brick that, by the way, has a song that is in immortality. You don't care where you're at. It's one of those songs they put on and everybody gets it.
Everybody. Yep.
Still, and they still give a fantastic show. At least they have the last few years. I've seen them a few times in the last several years.
Awesome.
And they were
there are many groups that we can proclaim that were one-hit wonders. And one of them that came to mind for me was the Floaters with Float On. Got all the way to number 2 in 1977. Would have reached number 1, but got caught between one of the biggest, and I mean biggest, battles in the history of the pop charts in the year of 1977 between Andy Gibbs, I Just Want to Be Your Everything, and The Emotions, Best of My Love. Between the two of them, both of them were battling for the number 1 position for a grand total of 11 weeks. Nobody got between them. So that meant the Commodores easy couldn't reach number 1. Keep It Comin' Love by Casey and the Sunshine Band couldn't reach number 1. The Floaters couldn't reach number 1. Nobody could reach number 1 between those two. They literally fended off more people that had an opportunity to reach number 1 than anybody in history. Those two. They were battling amongst themselves. The Emotions would hit for 3 weeks, and then Andy Gibb would hit for 3 weeks, and then the Emotions hit 1, and then Andy Gibb would hit 2, and then the Emotions hit 2. But the sad part, neither one made it to the number 1 song of the year. That distinction belonged to Rod Stewart's Tonight's the Night.
Rod Stewart.
Because he stayed at number 1 for 8 weeks, which beat out I Heard It Through the Grapevine by Marvin Gaye. Because he was number 1 for 7 weeks.
He just be throwing stuff at us, y'all. I know.
I love
It's
it.
more fun than a grandmama's macaroni and cheese tasting contest, boy.
Where did you get that from?
Like you said, this off the dome. I'm greedy.
All righty.
But you know, I learned that from Casey Kasem. I mean, that taught me a lot. Listening to him taught me a lot. People love hearing the stories of things.
Stories. Yes.
They love that. Yeah.
Yes, we're here where stars tell their stories, and you're the star, and you telling us a lot of stories. I'm loving it, Tyrone. Okay, here's one for you.
Blue Lights in the Basement. Closer I Get to You went to number 2 on the pop chart. By the way, 4 duets with Donny Hathaway would have went to number 1. The problem, the song that was at number 1 in 1978 for 8 weeks, 8 consecutive weeks. That song, Night Fever by the Bee Gees.
Oh yeah.
Fever night.
It just blew away everybody. It blew away everybody. It would have made it. So after Night Fever, and then a couple of more got there. RSO Records was one of the biggest, companies in music history. Just in that short time, we had the Bee Gees and Yvonne Elliman and Andy Gibb and John and Olivia. And I mean, there's 29 of 32 weeks, one record company held on to the number 1 position for over a year and a half.
That is amazing.
And that was RSO Records. Yeah. That was amazing. Yeah.
That is amazing.
And no one will duplicate that. That was.
This was our wedding song. We danced to this. I just had to say that. One of my favorites. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Your turn. We'll do just a couple more because we actually are out of time, but we're going to do a couple more.
Okay.
If you're good, Tyrone. Are you good, Tyrone? To stay for a minute?
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. There's a strike in Hollywood. I'm not doing anything.
Hey. SOS.
Oh, SOS. Yes. Not only is the SOS band, they were big in the 80s. In fact, so big that 5 straight top 10 singles. They were that big. From Weekend Girl, Take Your Time, Do It Right. They were roaring up the charts. And again, like I said, anybody who was making headway in the 1980s, particularly with three of the biggest on there.
Sands of Time.
Ooh, I was in MTSU.
SOS Band, Sands of
I was in
Time.
college with that.
Okay, I see it. Yeah, I got it. Yes, yes,
I
yes,
just
indeed.
love them.
Yes.
I have a question. Can I ask you? Can I ask you an SOS Band question?
Sure.
Is that not the group that got Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis fired?
My publicist has asked me not to comment on such matters.
Okay.
Because y'all know I'm friends with these people. I am not getting.
Well, I already heard they didn't told it, so yeah, that's what they said. That's what they went to work on. And
I'm not saying
you don't have to
but
say it.
Jimmy
I
Jam and
heard it.
But
Jimmy
Jam and Terry Lewis,
Yes, it is.
they became huge. They became great producers of their own.
That was a
Even with
blessing.
the Human League, they did a lot. They did a lot. They did a lot.
That was the one they didn't
And
come back
Janet
in time
Jackson.
for the show. For Prince, and Prince got mad, just got rid of him. Something like that. So I remember hearing that in another interview.
I respect that, but
yes,
I don't. But it was a good thing. It was good for them. It was good for music. It was good for music.
Sometimes we don't know that our greatest gift comes in the power of a struggle. You know that?
right.
We don't know it at the moment.
Amen.
But, you know, some of the greatest things that's ever happened to me has happened because of things that I thought were going to be my detriment, only to discover that it was actually to my benefit.
Exactly.
That's how Shell got with me. She was some knucklehead that some ugly dude. And then I came on and she thought she was upset over the ugly dude. But then here comes me 35 years later. Look at us.
I feel you, Al. Yeah, I'm with you, Al. You know what? I'm gonna cover you this time. Yes. Yeah, Shell, what he said. You know what I'm saying? I've been beating on him long enough. I'm with this brother. I'm with you, Al. I'm with you, man.
What he said.
Yeah, what he said. I'm with this dude, man.
I want to go back. We talked about, so I wanted to correct. I don't think Brick is still touring. I've seen them in the last few years, but I don't think they're performing anymore. I'm not sure. I wanted to correct that. Secondly, SOS Band is definitely still performing. I just saw them. I was working the Confunction concert in Columbus, Georgia.
Right.
And they were there. I was with them there. But they also are coming here if you're in Atlanta by chance. They will be here with Confunction again at Maple House Amphitheater Labor Day weekend. Since we're talking about some of these groups, Daz Band is here this Saturday. Daz Band is in Atlanta this Saturday at Stone Mountain Park. I'm just giving y'all some tidbits since we talk about all these groups. And so you all can support them. We still want to support our artists. We're here talking about them. A lot of them are still performing and performing well. So let's support them for sure.
Sounds like a road trip to me, Tanya.
What'd you say?
Sounds like a road trip.
Absolutely. So was there another one out? This will be our last one.
Okay. I just got one last one. This last one right here.
Oh yeah, buddy.
Oh, yes. Now, here's what's unique. They were, after Jeffrey Osborne, you know, he did Back in Love Again and all of his songs then. He wanted to cross over after he left the group to become on his own. So he did well. He thought he was going to do, you know, he did really well. He did. The song The Borderline, though, caused the shakeup where, you know, and you have to understand in the decade of the 80s was the decade of male singers. We can probably name 15 right across the top. And if you weren't in the top 10 consistently, it just wasn't going to happen. It just wasn't. And it was hard, particularly for anybody to break through the top three of what I mentioned: Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder, and Prince. It was just difficult. And I had to say Luther Vandross, who, by the way, wasn't bigger on the R&B charts than Freddie Jackson. Freddie was bigger than he was. So that, you know, on the R&B charts, on as far as number ones were concerned, Freddie had more number ones than he did.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
But since you mentioned it,
but it's all timing. There she goes.
Keep talking. It's all good.
You know what she was gonna do. You knew that. Was coming.
Now, who is that artist? I never heard of him.
Yeah, never heard of him. I've seen better.
What you have to your Barney bag over there? You keep
Him and Marcus Miller had the bad.
I've seen better, Tanya. I've seen better.
You just mentioned them, so I had to, I wasn't gonna, say nothing because we already been there. So, but since you mentioned them, I just gave you an excuse to go. Who's Tanya's favorite male artist? I know you don't know by now, right? Anyway,
right. Remind me again.
Some of the most prolific singers in the history of R&B music came out of the decade of the 80s. There was a sense of a reinvention in the 90s of groups and female singers, as well as some of the male singers holding on. But eventually rap was taking a very strong hold into into music, and music would never be the same after that. Not R&B music.
Now, Tyrone, I almost let this slip away. And that's the main thing we were supposed to be here for. And we got all off on a tangent. Please.
It's Al's fault.
My bad.
Right.
My bad.
Please tell everyone about your new and upcoming television show.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you very much. It's called, ironically, the Four Seasons of R&B, and it's based on the #1 songs during the 4 decades, as well as trivia questions that I'm able to put on television. And it's going to be on the KWELI network. As soon as the strike's over, this picket sign thing is driving me nuts. It's hot outside. I'm gonna tell you that right now. But it'll be on soon in the next few weeks. And so what makes it unique is that it's not just a television show. It's a labor of love, and it's me, and it's not hard. We're doing something that we like. Tanya, Al, and Shell, you guys, when we do what we like, we're not working. Exactly. We're living. We love them. Exactly. It doesn't matter. Just doing this means so much. Yeah. And so my show is based on that, and it got picked up. Several networks wanted it, but I wanted to do it on the Quelly network because I thought it would be good because it's Black culture, and I wanted it to stay on a show that was Black culture as well, and on a network that was that way. And it was one of the first streaming networks that there was, and I thought that would have been the right place for it. And I am enormously ecstatic and so grateful that I am living my dream. You can't imagine just the kindness of people and the love that I get from people, and the way in which I'm doing something that I never thought in a million years that I would do. 15 years ago, I, believe it or not, was struggling, just trying to figure out what I was going to be. And here I am now. And I always reminded myself, if I ever made something out of myself, I'm going to pull everybody up with me. And that's the way I do things.
It is.
Thank you so much. You said Quail Network, because I'm not familiar with that. KWELI.
Quelly, KWELI TV, Quelly TV. I had other offers, but I went with them because I wanted to keep it in the Black culture, and I wanted it to be in a place where it was unique and they would be willing to play it. So it'll be on in the next few, as soon as the writer's strike is over and all of that, it'll be on. It actually gave me an opportunity to write a couple of more, which was kind of good. But I'm really excited, and all based upon a book, all based upon me just talking about #1 songs in America and trivia questions, and it was good.
We're gonna do everything we can to help you promote that show with our audience too.
Yes.
I can't thank you enough for both of you. As I mentioned to Tanya earlier on the show here, that I very rarely do television interviews or do interviews of this nature. Not because I'm timid, just I guess I'm more private, but being amongst people who treat you with so much goodness and love and respect, it really feels good. And particularly your audience as well, who always reaches back out and has so many kind things to say, and it means a lot. And so for you, Al and Shell, as well as you, Tanya, and for all of you, I thank you so much for the pleasure of your time. It means a lot. It really does.
Our pleasure.
Tyrone, thank you. It's always a pleasure. We have so much fun with you and gain so much knowledge, which we just love it because it's music. We're all music people, and just the tidbits you have just in that head of yours is amazing to me. What you got up in there, it's just amazing how you just give us these facts like that. So, and of course you have to come back.
Once I cut the Jerry curl off, it all came to me.
Well, thank God we got rid of those. So you have it.
I
all
will
now.
tell you, I was on the red carpet last week. I'm going to actually post this picture. And I was on the red carpet last week in Hollywood for something. And, you know, the paparazzi always come, hey, will you sign these photos? And they had a photo of me in a Jerry curl. And I said, that's not me.
That's
and
funny.
the guy said, oh, yes, sir. No, this was, I went, I ain't never seen this dude before in my life. That's not me, man.
That's funny. We want to see.
It was me. But I wasn't going out like that, Al and Shell. I wasn't going out like that. No, I wasn't going.
I would love to see that picture.
You my people. That's what attracted her to me was my Jerry curl. Isn't that right?
Tell him, Shell. I'm with you, Al. I'm with you, Al, because I know she's going to front.
I would not start dating him until he cut it off.
Is that true, Al?
Yes.
Yeah.
Y'all, I gotta tell you this real quick. He had a three-prong pick. It looked just like this. And he picked it on both sides so much to where there was nothing in the middle.
I wanted it to look like Randy Hall's. You remember Randy Hall's Jerry curl?
I'm with you. Know what, Al? No, I'm stopping, Shell. Leave my brother alone.
That's
my dude right here. No, leave him alone. But Al, I did the same thing. But I did the same thing, though, Shell. I did the same thing, though.
Oh my gosh. All right. And on that note, everybody, again, and Al and Shell, thank you so much for coming on over to this side.
We have really enjoyed ourselves.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you so very
you.
much. Thank you all. It really means a lot. It does.
So we're going to do it again. So everybody, please, if you haven't subscribed and liked, please do that. Not just for me, which of course is a KAMDI group, but also for Al and Shell, Real Life at Al and Shell on Facebook. And also Tyrone, tell them where they can find and follow you as well.
Oh, this part is cool because my publicist says I never say anything. She says, you think everybody knows you. What says happiness better than me? That's what I always say. So you can reach me at Tyrone Dubose on both Instagram as well as Facebook, or you can go to my website, which is rnbhistorian.com.
All right. So everybody got that? RNB. It's N, right?
R-A-N-D.
Oh, R is A-N-D. R-A-N-D.
rnbhistorian.com.
It's spelled out. Okay. All right. I just want to put that in the chat. So everybody has that. And okay, everybody, support us.
What a good night, man! Y'all made this my day. I love that. It's like being with family with y'all. I love
it.
That.
It is family. It's
nice. Yeah.
And everybody, thank you so much for watching, for listening. Please continue to come and support us. We appreciate you sharing your night with us. And come back in 2 weeks. I'm going to have Mr. Chris Walker. If you don't know who he is the new lead singer of the group TMF, which is formerly Maze. So he will be with us in 2 weeks. And the week after that, we've got Mickey Howard coming by. So make sure you tune in. Coming back. Yeah, so we will see you all later. Everybody have a great, great, great evening. And we will see you next time on the KAMDI Conversations. Bye, everybody.